In the first term of the Obama administration, you had the Occupy movement. In the second term, you had the Black Lives Matter movement. And now in the Trump administration, you have Antifa, the anti-fascist movement. But they're really all the same thing. The black bloc techniques that they've used, and even the people. One of the guys who was recently featured in the Washington Post, Legna, they did a picture of him with a baseball bat. Okay, well that's a guy who I profiled back when he was at Occupy DC. So people have to understand this is a long-term movement. By the way, it goes back much further. The battle for Seattle. Internally, they call it the peace and justice movement. Okay, and it's Soros funded. Everyone who watches InfoWars knows and understands that. But the thing a lot of people have missed is how this has affected things overseas. What I see here is an agitation situation like we saw in Ukraine in 2013 and 2014. So real briefly, let's look at who the players were, okay? Hillary Clinton's State Department put a lot of resources into the Ukraine. George Soros spent $100 million. The Obama administration and Victoria Nuland were part of it. John McCain went to Ukraine, and the media covered up what was actually going on there. What was actually going on there is the US sponsored a coup that was funded by Soros, that was set up by the Obama administration, set up through something. People can look up Hillary Clinton Civil Society 2.0, and they'll find a lot of material from the State Department. That's where the Clinton State Department trained cyber activists. So what Ukraine, it's another country. What does that have to do with anything? I want people to look up the Svoboda, S-V-O-B-O-D-A, Svoboda. That is a right-wing neo-Nazi party in Ukraine. And you will find pictures from 2013, 14, 15 of Svoboda doing these tiki torch marches exactly like we saw in Charlottesville. The red and black flags, that's a flag that represents blood and soil. Blood and soil is a neo-Nazi chant.
These white nationalists in Charlottesville were chanting this exact same slogan, the blood and soil. And then they had those same tiki torches. You pointed this out. Julian Assange noticed it as well. Yep. So is that just a coincidence, or what do you think about that?
I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's a neo-Nazi chant. I think that John McCain has no problem with it when he's standing on stage. Now, McCain came out with a statement condemning what happened in Charlottesville. I'm going to condemn both of them. This guy, the Svoboda Party, is connected to a group called the Ukrainian Insurgent Army that goes back to World War II. Now, when we talk about Nazis, these are actual Nazi collaborators who killed about 60,000 Polish people and Jews, by the way. The guy you see there, Sieg Heiling, hates Jews. He talks openly about Jews. This Svoboda group is not a fringe group. They're neo-Nazis, but they're not a fringe group at all. They're not like, let's say, the white supremacists who were in Charlottesville, who have those guys have no political power whatsoever, right? These guys are one of the big three political parties in Ukraine, and they're supported by Democrats like Hillary Clinton, independent Republicans like Evan McMullin. And by the way, I want you to look up one other thing. Look up Svoboda CIA. The CIA was actively involved in that Ukraine coup. And the U.S. government literally supported. Anybody can look up that Victoria Nuland, N-U-L-A-N-D, phone call, where she said, I don't want the head of the neo-Nazis in the government, but I want him consulted 4 times a week. Can you imagine if Donald Trump said, we need to consult Matthew Heimbach from the Traditional Workers' Party 4 times a week, right? That would be, the press would go insane. And by the way, the Trump supporters would go insane.
People would go absolutely insane if Trump had a campaign stop where he was meeting with openly white nationalist groups, like our former CIA operative that was also running for the presidency.
Yeah. September of last year in Hartford, Connecticut, there was a meeting of the American-Ukrainian Congress. At that meeting, they were greeted by Evan McMullin. Evan McMullin is the CIA Goldman Sachs person who was running as a spoiler against Trump. The whole goal was to have him split Utah so that Hillary would win. Does that make sense? That was their strategy. They saw Trump was weak in Utah. McMullen's a Mormon. They thought they had a chance to split the vote. Hillary wins Utah. They figured, okay, that would win. He addressed the Ukrainian Congress. If you look at who the Ukrainian Congress is, these aren't moderates. This includes veterans of, drumroll, the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. It's right there in their own webpage. Now, remember what I said, the Ukrainian Insurgent Army were Nazi collaborators who killed 60,000 Poles brutally. And when I say brutally, they were murdering children. I want you to imagine, just Leon, picture for a second, if Donald Trump spoke to a group of people, and it included former SS officers. Do you think there might be some controversy there? Not only did Evan McMullen speak at that group, but Andrea Chalupa spoke at that group because she's part of it. And just as importantly, a representative Hillary Clinton was physically there speaking to them. So Oliver Stone, who I don't agree with on a lot of stuff, but he produced a film called Ukraine on Fire. Anybody can seek it out. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch the film. He shows that what happened in Ukraine was a giant protest in Maidan Square, suddenly started to get violent. Now, what happens when things start to get violent is there's a police crackdown, right? Now, the police crackdown creates more violence. And by the way, a group called Right Sector were the people behind that in the Ukraine. The media here didn't report on this. So here's what I see happening. Remember the Women's March right after Trump was inaugurated? 1 million people in the streets, right? That was a peaceful protest. But imagine if there started to be violence. See, because I've been to so many protests, I can see what's happening. They want the violence, and they want to be able to blame the violence on the right. In that film, they talk very specifically about how in the Maidan, they needed martyrs. See, they need someone dead. Does that make sense? Because then they have a martyr. So you remember the footage of it's kind of an amazing shot of the car speeding down the road. So it's come out that Brennan Gilmore was with the U.S., the guy who happened to catch that shot was with the U.S. State Department. He also worked for a Democratic representative. But let me point out something else. If you go to Brennan Gilmore's page, you'll see he's got a picture of the young woman who was murdered. And do you know what it says? Martyr. The Democrats have investigated Trump for a lot less. For a lot less. They've called for investigations and secret meetings. They've convened the FBI. When you have this many things going on, I think someone really needs to investigate. This is really frightening what's going on because we see the same players. It's Hillary Clinton, it's Barack Obama, it's John McCain, it's the CIA, it's the media, it's George Soros, all on one team, and unfortunately it's patriotic Americans on the other team.
Of the 30-plus proprietary products that we've developed for InfoWarsLife.com, DNA Force is the flagship. This highly advanced formula has been sold out for close to 6 months due to a worldwide shortage of the sought-after ingredients. Today, I'm very excited to announce that we have received a limited shipment of DNA Force, and despite the fact that we have been sold out for close to 6 months, I'm still discounting it 20% because I want listeners and viewers that haven't tried DNA Force yet to actually get a chance to see how amazing it is. You can't lose when you support the InfoWar and get great products at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force is back in stock. You can get an additional 10% off when you sign up for auto ship, and you can cancel anytime. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And again, thank you for making the InfoWar possible. You are the InfoWar.